It's time for another Dice Tower review with Zee Garcia.
Hey everybody, it seems I've been talking a lot about trick-taking games lately, and today we're talking about another one. This is Pot de Vin, and in it you are going to be playing cards, collecting tricks, and then using those tricks to play sort of a set collection game that doesn't have anything to do with the suits on those cards. You are collecting different groups of influence and trying to get just the right amount of each, because if you miss that number, you are going to be penalized instead. Let's take a look at how the game works. We'll come on back after that, and I'll tell you if it's a good trick-taking game with a twist. The game, as I said before, is a trick-taking game in which you are going to be collecting cards and then scoring those cards at the end to try to get the most victory points. Let me talk about the scoring first and how you get victory points, and then I'll talk about the trick-taking, which is very straightforward and simple. So the idea is, as you can see here, that you want to get, of the symbols on the cards, you want to get 1, 2, or 3 of the same symbol. Then after that, you start losing points for having 4 of the same, 5 of the same, or 6 of the same symbol, and after that, you start making positive points again. So again, you want very few or lots and lots of these symbols, and then also you are going to get some victory points if you can get all 4 of the 13 cards in the deck. But if you get 1, 2, or 3 of the 4, you are going to lose some victory points. And some of the other cards, by the way, do have victory points on there, sometimes positive, sometimes negative. However, the cards, there's only 4 suits in the game, which is right here. So you'll have the figures themselves are the suits in the game. But the symbols across the bottom is what you'll be scoring. So you'll be taking the cards based on the figures on the suits, and then you'll be flipping them over and actually scoring these symbols here. And again, this is all on your cheat sheet, so you don't have to memorize any of this or anything like that. So let's say we're going to start playing the game. I'll be the start player. The first thing we do is we flip over a card from the trump pile, and this denotes what card beats, what suit beats all of the other suits. And then I'll play a card from my hand. So let's say I want to play this one here. I put it there. Whoever leads plays right there. And then all the other players around the table, one at a time, are going to play a card, and they have to follow suit if they can, meaning I have to play that same character, that same image, if I am able to. So let's say I'll play this one here. This player will play that one, and this player would take a look at their hand, and they'll play, let's say they'll play that one there, and then this player could play, and they will play this one here. And at that point, we take a look at what the highest card played was. This card, the 11, which is the one I led with, is still the highest at the table, and so I would take all of these cards and put them in front of me, arranged by these symbols. And so these two would go together here in front of me, denoting these symbols, and this one, and even the one that got flipped from the trump pile, okay? So I would do this, basically, and this is a +2. That's just 2 more points at the end of the game. Great, that gets its own pile. And then since I won that, I would flip over a new trump card and play again in here. If in that situation that we just saw, let's say this player did not have that suit, if they had played, they have to play any other card, okay? But if that card played had been the trump card, that suit, then they would have won and they would have taken everything. But you don't necessarily always want to win, right? Because you have to manage how many of each kind of symbol you get. And so we do it again. I would say, okay, we'll flip that one now. That's good for me, but I already do have 2 of those, so I might play a little low on this one, all right? I might play that and figure if somebody else takes it, no big deal. Now, if somebody wants to, let's say this player plays that. If somebody does not want to play a card, let's say that for some reason they don't want to give something up, okay? They could play a gem instead. They'll add a gem, and they don't play a card that round. And then we see who wins from everyone that played. So I played a 4, this player played an 11, a 2. This player here is going to take all of these. And they are going to arrange them once again. This is a -2, that gets its own pile. They get this one on its own, and they get this one on its own, and the gem goes on top of their treasure here. Not to be confused with their own 2 gems that they may use to pass. This one is locked, and it's going to be a victory point at the end of the game, all right? And this is going to continue until we go through all of these cards. After that's all done, we reference our scoring card here again, and we attribute victory points to every player, and we see who the winner is. Again, you want not somewhere in the middle. You want very few of a symbol or a lot of a symbol, and you have to watch out for those 13s, which, let's see if I have one handy here, and I'll show you one. They look like this, okay? So they're very nice and shiny there, and across the bottom they simply say the title of the game. If you get all 4, you're going to get a nice chunk of victory points, but pushing that, trying to go for that is a risky move, because you'll lose victory points if you don't get all 4 of them. So that's basically it. You are also going to get some negative points from some cards, some positive points from some other cards, and also there are a few cards which are wild, and those you'll set alone by themselves until the very end of the game, and then you'll assign those. Here we go. There's one of them. It has a question mark where the symbol would normally be. You assign this to whatever you want at the end of the game, 1 per type, 1 per symbol, and that's going to count as another symbol of that kind. That's pretty much the game. It's a very simple, straightforward trick-taking game, and you are simply going to attempt to collect the right amount of symbols in all of the different suits. So, that should give you an idea of how the game works, what you are trying to do, how you attempt to manipulate it. Let's go back up top and let me tell you if I think it's effective at what it tries to do. Alright, so there you have it. Let's talk about this. We're going to start off with thematic ties, and the theme here, this idea of using your characters to influence guilds, to recruit more power in those guilds after a coup has been... It's fine, but it's not necessarily thematic. Now, to be fair, most trick-taking games are not very thematic. They usually have a pasted-on theme, pasted-on artwork even, right? So I gotta give this one credit for making sense, at least. You are technically recruiting symbols which represent those guilds, so it works, you know. I wouldn't say it has a strong theme, but by trick-taking standards, it's good. But enough of that, because we're going to talk about aesthetics next, and the aesthetics here are very, very nice. The symbology is great. The designs on the cards are very nice, except for a small thing I'll come back to in 1 second. And the quality of the components here is superb. Superb. The insert's good. Scoring pad is good. They include the pencil. Great. Card quality is fantastic. The printing on it with the metallic inks is beautiful. The whole thing has a luxury feel to it, you know, and I like that very much. The little thing I said I wanted to come back to is the 4 different suits I wish were a little more diverse. The lady on the front of the cover here has a very distinct silhouette, so she certainly stands out from the other 4. But a couple of the gentlemen, out of only 4 suits, are a little closer than I'd like. And I wish they would have gone with very distinct silhouettes, sort of follow the old The Simpsons rule, where you should be able to tell who someone is from a quick glimpse at their outline, at just their silhouette. And so, yeah, it kind of fails slightly at that. Simpler, more distinct shapes would have been a little better for me, But yeah, that's mostly nitpicking. The replayability and the scalability, I think, are both very good. Replayability here is neat. You are going to get better and better at this game while you are playing. It's going to take several games to evolve to the point of understanding when to pass. When do you trump and not trump if you have that option. Just how to manipulate everything to nail those numbers that you want. If you do go past 3, if you got 5 or 4 or 5 or 6 of the same symbol, how do you snatch those last couple to put you in positive scoring territory? There's gonna be some trickery here. When do you stick someone else with a -2? What are you okay with giving up? Do you try to go for the 4 13s? That's all clever, and it works for me. It adds to the replayability. The game length is fantastic, especially, again, for a trick-taking game where they usually tell you to play a hand per player, play to 300 points. that sort of trope. In this game, you play once. One time. It's, 10 tricks or so. It depends on the number of players. And then you score and you see who wins. And I like that very much. If you want to play more. Play another game. But you are not forced to play, 10 hands or something ridiculous like that. And so I'm very happy with the game length. The ease of play. If there's any fiddliness, any weird design choices, anything like that. I thought that was very nice. The gems are straightforward. The concept of paying a gem to not play works well. I like the set collection aspect for the scoring. The special cards are clear, straightforward. +2, -2, a wild card that you can add to something else later on. 1 wild per guild. Great. Simple. I like it very much. And then lastly, tactics and strategy and luck. I touched on this a little bit when I was talking about the replayability, but I find the game to be lucky, certainly. You're dealt a hand of cards, and what you get is what you get, but how you tactically react to what's going on when you use those gems to pass. What you play, when you win. Do you try to win by, you lead and try to win? People might be able to stick you with some symbols you don't want, It's got a great tactical depth and richness to it that I enjoyed, So overall, this is a neat trick-taking game. It's one that, again, the twist, as I said, is that the game is not really about winning tricks. It's about collecting sets, and those two things aren't related one-to-one. Now, you do have on your score, your cheat sheet tells you what symbols show up on what cards. So you do have that knowledge if you want to play at a deeper level. You know what's out there. But I like that it translates into a different kind of game through trick-taking. And I enjoyed it very much. It's a well-made game, this one. And gorgeous to boot. So, Pot de Vin is going to get from me a seal of excellence. I certainly recommend you give it a look. It's a neat trick-taking game. I'm loving this new wave of trick-taking games that bring a feeling of an essence of the classics while adding some new concepts that are just recent in board gaming. And this is another one, so definitely check it out.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.